Hello, everybody. Welcome to a first, possibly inaugural episode of Seinfeld and Friends and Seinfeld, working title. We're still workshopping the name of this podcast, but at the end of the day, it's about Seinfeld, and we're starting right at the beginning with the very first episode of Seinfeld. And joining me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Celina. How are you doing today?
Very well, Eric. Thank you.
Amazing. I was reading an article about how to do podcasts better, and they talked
Yeah,
about banter. They talked about banter,
banter.
and I
We
feel
need some banter.
we need some banter. So I'm just like in your week, in the last little while, what's going on in your life that maybe could fit in a Seinfeld episode? What's been like a Seinfeld-esque story that you could just be like, this what's been going on?
Don't think I have any Seinfeld-esque thing. I did put adoption papers in for a dog yesterday.
That is incredible. And
Yeah.
that's interestingly enough, a dog plays into this first episode of Seinfeld.
Yes.
Great segue. So,
Ralph.
dog, Ralph. Yes, his name was Ralph. That was we'll talk about Ralph.
Okay.
So you just applied to the like so there's no dogs yet on the
There's no
table. You're
dogs
just
yet. I've been kind of noodling on it for quite some time, the fact that I would like to get a dog, and I've decided to stop overthinking, let the universe send me some cues. And 2 days ago, my friend sent me a link to this adorable dog named Willow. And she seems like she would fit nicely with my style, my vibes, my energy. So I figured I'll put it in an application and I'll see what happens.
so is Willow like a Ralph type dog, a very like aggressively excitable golden retriever, golden lab, whatever that dog was, or what kind of vibe is Willow?
Willow is a she. She's about 2 years old. Pretty well house trained, pretty well behaved, I think. Knows to go to her bed, doesn't come out of her bed until she's released. So, and likes to be active, young enough to like still go for runs, but like chill enough to chill on the couch. So yeah, I'm
Perfect.
pretty excited. I hope she can be a part of the podcast.
Well, my fingers are crossed for you and Willow. That's I love that. I'm trying to think of my good banter to start this podcast.
Yeah, what do
So
you got? What do you got? What's new with you?
it's I'm trying to make this sound like a good Seinfeld bit, but
Yeah.
I bought a new pair of pants from Costco.
Oh,
Two new pairs of
hey,
pants from Costco. And I'm
did
not
they
a
fit?
usual they did. And I didn't have to, that's the crazy part because I was like, I'm buying these things. I can't try them on. I'm just gonna buy them. The receipt, the return policy is always great.
Yes.
So I bought them,
Hmm.
and they are the comfiest dress pants I've ever owned in my entire
Oh, they're
life.
dress pants. I would say
They're
80% of my dress pants come from Costco, no lie.
they're like I think they're chinos technically. So I bought a
Okay.
blue pair and a black pair, but they're like they look like dress pants. The
Business casual.
stretch the stretchy waist,
Yeah.
it's a dream come true. The reason why I'm wearing this button up right now is because
Very
of these
formal.
pants, very
Yeah.
formal. And I must dress like a complete slob every other day of the week because I must have said 40 different people at school today were like, "What's the occasion? You're dressed so fancy. What's the deal?" And I'm like, I must look disgusting every other day because it
They're just
is
like they're complimenting your
shocking.
pants.
The pants, the shirt, and the haircut, I think also makes me
The
look more put
haircut, yeah.
together.
It's the
Yeah.
haircut.
So everything all together, everyone's just like kind of stops. Like as I'm leaving today, there's a teacher I hadn't seen all day, and she literally walks past me and she's just like, "Whoa, snazzy!" And I'm like, "Okay, thank you." A lot of compliments filling my
Gonna
head.
keep shopping at Costco.
Keep shopping at Costco. So this is no free ads, but Costco pants. Goddamn, I am a big fan.
Yep.
So.
Yep, they're pretty fucking
I
good.
think that's pretty good banter.
That
Let's
was
jump
good.
into
I'll work better on the Seinfeld banter next time. That mine was not. Mine was a life
that's
update.
okay.
It was not
No,
Seinfeld.
that's okay. That's important. That's important, and it related to the first episode, so you're
I
you're
guess.
locked in.
Yes.
It's our first episode that we're technically recording, and I
Hmm.
really wanted to open with like why Seinfeld? Why are we talking about Seinfeld? I love this. We've known each other for I think over a decade now, and I think we bonded over our love of Seinfeld. Talk to me about your relationship with the show. Where did it start? Where did it come from? Why does it exist?
It's been around since I have been around, so I can't really pinpoint the time of when I stumbled upon it. I think it might have just always been on. It was always on like TV Tropolis, I think, after school. So I think that's where I stumbled upon it. I think there was back-to-back episodes at like 3 o'clock every day, and I would watch it with my dad. And I think also my dad always likens me to the Elaine character quite a bit, and I wear that as like a pride badge of honor that
Mhm.
I have some character traits similar to Elaine. So yeah, that's my connection to Seinfeld.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, similar vibe with me. Like, I would come home after school every day, and my dad had a legal cable, which was fantastic. And
Mm,
so I had sort of mapped out almost like methodically, like at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., I had this channel with Seinfeld, 4 to 5, maybe a break in between, a couple. So I was
yes.
watching like on like like I'd watch it like 6 times a night, just trying to get as many episodes under my belt as possible.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you ever
and
get the DVD cases when you were a kid too?
Not for a
Like the
while, but
seasons?
I'm glad you brought that up because weirdly enough, my dad had a friend who recorded like VHS recorded a bunch of Simpsons and all sorts of things. Like he had a giant closet filled with like his VHS pre-DVD what he would do. And I
Mm.
remember there was a Simpsons season where all of a sudden a random Seinfeld episode would come on. And this was before I knew about Seinfeld. Do you know what episode it was?
The
It was the
pick.
one. No, I wish that it was the black and white cookie, the one where they go to the dinner
Ah.
party and George wants to bring the Pepsi and it's freezing cold. It's an incredible episode, and it stops recording at like almost halfway through the episode. So I see like the first 3 quarters of it. Never, it took me years to see the ending of this Seinfeld episode,
Oh
and
my
that's what
God.
sort of. So I stumbled upon the show on TV and I was like, oh, it's the same one from the VHS. And then it took probably a couple of years, and then I finally saw the ending of that episode, and I was so happy. It was like a dream come true.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really good origin story of Seinfeld for you.
Honestly, it's like ever since we were like, let's do a Seinfeld podcast, I've been excited to share that anecdote because it's just like it's truly one of my favorite shows of all time. It
Totally
is,
agree.
yeah. What separates it from other shows? What do you think?
The thing I like about Seinfeld is there doesn't need to be a big climactic relationship stupid problem. It is stupid problems, but it's conversation throughout. Not to say that it's a plateauing show, but like there's no big hierarchy, there's no big blip in the IKG machine, whatever they're called. Like
Hmm.
I like how it's mostly dialogue, it's mostly just back and forth jokes. Yeah, that's what I like about it. There's no like waiting, are they gonna solve the problem in time in the next 22 minutes? I'm not worried about it. I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah, it feels like a show like because I remember my dad hated Friends, and then I also sort of decided to hate Friends until I actually watched Friends, and I was like, Friends is pretty good, but it follows a formula. Like it
Yeah.
really follows a formula, and I think for Seinfeld, it's sort of mined and created its own formula where like
Mm,
there are these sort of problems that exist, but they are so mundane and so silly and almost nonsensical at times and the way they sometimes they don't get solved and you sort of get to bask in how chaotic the ending is because these characters are either too dense or dumb to know how to actually deal with these problems and you just get to watch them suffer in them and it's amazing, it's so fun to watch.
I think that's like right on the button saying like they're not following a formula.
Hmm.
They broke the mold and like didn't try to like check any boxes. They were just I'm gonna tell this really stupid story and like the stuff you couldn't possibly believe. All these like sequential turn of events have happened and in the 22 minutes that's what happened.
I love what you said about this, like there's these like little decisions and choices that characters make that lead to these ridiculous consequences and
Hmm.
you're just sort of like almost in awe in some episodes about how one little thing triggers another thing and you're just sort of like this is incredible writing and it's delightful to see how it all sort of shakes out and cascades as the
Yes.
episode goes on and it's delightful, it's so good, it's
Hmm.
just an incredible show. I've seen every episode many times. Today though we're talking about the first season, which before we
First
jump into the
episode.
first episode. So it's, I think, historically looked at as not a great season.
Mm-mm.
Um, and I would say when we were doing like our Seinfeld binges when we were in high school or growing up, like I feel like you didn't see a lot of season one episodes because there was only
That's a good point.
5 of
Yeah, you
them.
don't. No,
Yeah, there's only
it's
5 of them, and they feel like they just get skipped.
well for good reason, I think.
There we go. And we're going to talk about it. So, I wanted to just go over some very quick initial, like, beginning of the show. This is a pilot. It's really fascinating. I'm surprised I like this pilot so much because everyone hated it. When it was dropped as a pilot, it seemed like it wasn't popular. It didn't get enough attention to get a new season. And yet somehow through one producer who fought for it and like advocated for it, they ordered just 4 episodes for a 5 season to like a 5 episode season, which has never happened in history. And that's how little confidence they had in that show.
I don't think I
Was
knew that.
just yeah, so that was a little bit of the research I did. It was initially called, the show wasn't going to be called Seinfeld. It was going to be called the Seinfeld Chronicles. And then after they ordered season one, they changed it to Seinfeld. And then this episode became known as Good News, Bad News, which is a fine title, but I think doesn't fit the mold because I think every episode has a the something title. So this one sort of breaks the mold a little bit.
Right.
Uh, for this podcast that we're hoping to do, we've come up with a series of categories to create some conversation. So we're going to go through those beat by beat and then hopefully stick to this formula as we go through these episodes. Does that sound good, Selena?
Sounds fantastic.
Sick. So we're going to do super quick 10-second synopsis of this episode. So I think for this, I'm just going to read out what we got. George spends most of the episode convincing Jerry that this woman who's coming into town does not want to sleep with him. Kramer is mildly annoying, awkward, but there's something quirky about him. Finally, it turns out that George is 100% right, a sentence we won't say throughout most of this podcast. There were signals, and Jerry didn't see them.
Well put.
Not a lot happens in this episode.
No, honestly, when it ended, I kind of like sat up and I was like, "Wait, how do I that's it? Like what happens with the girl who's engaged?" Like I was like
Yeah,
waiting for an ending and then I was like, "Oh yeah, that's not Seinfeld. They don't give you the ending
they
you
don't.
want."
Yeah, no closure, no ending. Um, I want to start with you, and so we're gonna
Mm,
jump to our overall review, just to get a sense of what we thought of this episode. I think from what it sounds like, we're on different ends of the spectrum.
I think so.
I liked it a fair bit. What are your takes?
I don't like it. It feels chaotic, it feels messy, it feels blurry. They're not the characters that they actually come to be in season two. Like they're not
Hmm.
the same
Hmm.
characters. Like J Jerry is much too patient and understanding with his friends with the girl. Um, George is too confident. Like he's not actually that
Hmm.
confident of a character, but in this episode
Hmm.
he is. He knows what he's talking about, and it's like, well, slow down there, buddy. I don't think you do. So
Hmm.
yeah, it just doesn't feel like classic Seinfeld as I know it, and obviously it's not the first episode that I ever saw. Therefore, me watching it now or at any time in the my history, it doesn't seem to match. It's a puzzle
Hmm.
piece. It doesn't quite fit for me.
That's fair. That's fair. I disagree on a number of things you said. I
Okay,
disagree on a number of things
please
you said. I
tell
will
me.
agree with you on Jerry and Kramer. I think
Mm,
they are the least like there's some initial Kramerisms that are coming out, but the
yes.
way sort of Jerry and Kramer interact, it's very like muted, very like quiet, very like
Hmm.
kind of slow and methodical and like it's just not Kramer. I thought George was very George in this. I thought it was I think he is like I called him a rock star. I think he steals the show in this
I don't
episode.
understand where you're coming from with that. Like he's so annoying in it.
I love that you think he's annoying. I think there's like his because I think he is confident in later seasons, like almost like pre like he has a job. I think after he loses his jobs, then the confidence starts to fall apart, and then we
Fair.
get to see sad lives with his parents, George. But he's dressed like a rock star. He's a real estate guy.
Hmm.
He talks with this very snappy dialogue with Jerry, like in the first two scenes about like what's gonna happen with this girl. He's like I know what's gonna happen, Jerry. This is what's gonna happen. And yes, he's right, but it's like it was shocking to see how rapid the dialogue was from the outset and how
Right.
much like I'd love to see what like early viewers thought of this because I wonder
Mm.
who if me or like who was in the norm. Did people think he was annoying like you did, or were people like was he the star of the episode? Because I really don't know. Like I'm surprised we're on such different planes on this.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't you make really good strong an argument for George. I don't know if it's that like I just hate maybe I don't like George in general.
That
But
could be it because he's probably my favorite character by a
oh my
landslide.
God, what?
I love George to the ends of
I
the
hate
earth.
because
Like,
like Sligo's, you're right. He can go from like, rock bottom, no confidence, what the hell's happening, to like he too quickly picks up the
mhm.
speed to be this arrogant know-it-all prick. And that's what I hate about him. He
Yeah,
too quickly makes that jump for me. And I feel like maybe I know some people like that in my life, and that's why I'm like,
maybe.
ooh, you remind me of
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah. He is also a bit of like a joy kill in this episode. Like, it
Mm,
sucks that Jerry is like, maybe it's because
exactly.
he's offended by the shirt comment because this obviously like historically the show opens with the button joke, like the placement
Yes.
of the button at the top,
Yes.
and we all know the last joke of the series is about the button joke.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it seems like he is like just completely crushing Jerry about his excitement about this woman coming in. And like some friends might be like, "Oh yeah, like yeah, maybe things will work out. Like maybe this woman will be interested in you." But
Hmm.
he does this thing that I find really interesting where he like almost like a surgeon, like picks apart every little
Yes.
thing Jerry says. And I find that interesting and cool that he's just like he is just like he's telling the waitress, like, maybe I'll give you a call. She has to do, and he's so locked in on, I guess, being right, but also being a prick. But I find it just fun to watch.
Yeah, see,
No?
I don't find it fun because it stresses me out. I'm concerned. I'm like, oh, but Jerry was excited about this. Like I
I
maybe I'm too
know.
emotional to watch Seinfeld, and that's the problem there.
Okay, so the last thing I want. Okay, so we'll get to some other parts because I feel like there's the opening scene and the scene in the laundromat. I thought were sort of two like classic Seinfeld banter, very back and forth,
Sure.
rapid
Yeah.
paced. Um, but overall, you would say not a big fan of this episode.
Of this episode, no.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Okay. That's fair. I liked it, and we're going to dig into more conversation as we get through the rest of these
Yes.
categories. Okay, let's do most dated reference. So I wrote down a couple. Did you catch any that you like thought like something that made the show feel very like late 80s, early 90s?
I think it's just like the camera work, quite not the
Hmm.
work, but like the actual, like it feels a bit blurry.
The aesthetic.
Yeah, like I couldn't really pick out anything like specific other than like, the fashion.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
I thought
yeah.
George looked fun. I thought George looked like straight fire.
He there's literally like Instagram accounts dedicated to Seinfeld fashion because it's
I
back
love
in
that.
style now.
I love
Yes.
that. That makes me so happy. I wrote down a couple things. It was just like the idea of Jerry taping a game to watch it later. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
anyone does that anymore. Um, we'll talk about the stand-up because that's another sort of category that will shift as this podcast goes on. What did you think of
Yes.
it? Like the socks and the cotton balls, like the general Jerry like comedy. Did you? Yeah,
It's
no,
fallen
you're
flat.
falling flat.
Women have cotton balls. I don't know what cotton balls are for. As a woman, I couldn't fucking tell you. I don't really
There you
appreciate the
go.
generalization that women should know.
Yep.
I don't know.
It's oh yeah, yeah. And the whole like we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But I thought that was like very like old school early Jerry Seinfeld comedy that is so milk toast and bland.
Milk
Like just
toast.
not interesting at all. And then, pre 9/11 meeting someone outside the gate at the airport, that feels
Yes.
old school. We don't do that anymore.
I've done that for a long time. I don't
Long time.
we've never done that personally. Like I don't think.
I don't think so.
We're
No,
too
no. Yeah.
young for that.
Yeah, I think we're
But yeah.
too young for that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's it for dated references.
Mhm.
Let's move on to best line or joke of the episode. What do you got?
I like the first one right out of the gate. You've already mentioned it. That button's in no man's land. And then because he's talking about, his buttons in the wrong
Mm-hmm.
placement on his shirt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then do not try before you buy. I thought that was like just kind of a funny way to phrase that. So
And
yeah,
it's
that was
very
my
like it's all
favorite line.
and it's funny because like this is like I want to really dig into Seinfeld in ways to like make this interesting. It almost sounds poetic to me. Like I just
Yes.
the way he says it's like you didn't try before you buy. Like it's such a silly way of
It sounds like
talking
a
to your
haiku or
friend.
something, the way like he was going to
Exactly.
continue
It
it.
rhymes like it's like calling like literally button is in no man's land is almost a metaphor. Like I just love that sort of like that's how the
Mhm.
show starts.
Yep.
Hey, I'm looking at your button, friend. And have we thought about that button? Did you think about that shirt before you bought it? Just lights out.
Yep. Nope, I agree.
My
And so your favorite
mine.
line.
Oh, by far, George is staring at the dryer turning and turning, and he says, "This may be the dullest moment I've ever experienced." And like I could write a dissertation on how much I love that joke because it's like, how many times in our lives are we in the middle of something and you just want to look at the person you're with or in the situation you're in and just be like, this could be the most boring thing I've ever been a part of. And just, it's in the second scene of the show and it's so relatable. And I just, George is my guy. I think this might be where we differ as we go
This
through
is where
these
we're going to
episodes.
clash. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't like that line because he says it almost thinking it's a smart line. If you say that thinking it's witty, that's why it falls flat for me. If he'd said it with a genuine feeling of like, I think this might be the dullest moment I've ever had. Like you're coming to a
Wow.
realization rather than
Yeah.
a comedic timing. That's what I don't. He's
hmm
trying to be too funny. He's trying to be a Jerry, and I don't like that.
That's interesting. I'm curious to go through these episodes with you and see how this develops because like
It's going to be a
it's
podcast
gonna be
about George.
interesting. It might be. This might just be what we talk. It's gonna just be called Costanza. We'll call it Can't Stand You, and that'll be the
Can't
new
stand you.
podcast.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's not bad.
There you
Okay,
go.
let's move on. Best slash worst outfit. Like I said, George looks like straight fire. His drip is fantastic.
Yeah, I
No?
can't. I know I can't disagree. Can't
Okay.
disagree. It's what,
Like
1989 at this
late, yeah,
point?
88, 89, I believe. I think the purple shirt in the opening scene looks nice. It's nice to see a
Yes,
man rocking
I totally
purple.
agree.
Yeah, and then he's wearing it like I think he's coming from the office, so he has a nice olive green jacket over top of it, and he
Mm-hmm.
just looks put together and
He
fancy.
does. He does. A lot different than I think we see him in some like maybe boring polo shirts. The closer we
hmm
get into the 90s here, and like so he
Yeah.
maybe loses the touch of the fashionista gene. But
hmm
yeah, no, it's good to see him in something that's different.
Yeah, and then everything else, like it just there wasn't much that kind of jumped out.
Yeah, no. The only other thing you touched on a lot of stuff, and then I was like, what have I got? The bathrobe that Kramer
The
wears? Like,
bathrobe
there's
is
not a
something
lot
that's
I can.
off. It's fun. Like I does that come back? Like I'm trying to remember if Kramer comes into Jerry's apartment wearing a bathrobe ever
I
in the
feel like
rest of the
once or twice
show.
because there's definitely like something where he comes in from like showering or bathing, so he must come in with the
Mm,
bathrobe again. I was more noticing it because I'm currently shopping for one, so I was like, nice
mm.
bathrobe.
There we go. Okay, there we go. I like that. And then
hmm
there was George came in wearing a hat. So he's 29, which
Yeah.
actually no, I won't spoil that, but that's my fun fact of this episode is that George is goddamn 29 years old when he's filming
Why
this.
is that so shocking?
I don't know. I just when I picture George, he's like consistently always 40 to 50. Like I just picture
Gotcha.
him because he's balding.
Yeah.
I've never
Okay.
seen him as a young man, so to imagine him being under 30 either makes me feel old or I just can't picture him in that range. It's weird.
How old is Jerry?
I didn't look into that, but probably
Okay.
he must be roughly the same age. It's just
Right.
weird. Like I think time is moving in a way where I look back and I'm like, wow, it's weird to see George at that age, especially
Right.
like he still has a lot of hair. Like Kramer looks a bit younger, Jerry looks younger. Like it's just weird to see these guys like before they've become what they are now, slash when the show ended. So
Yeah, no, fair point. Yeah, I
yeah.
get that. Yeah, you do think of
Um,
George as a 40-year-old man all the time. Perpetually
yeah,
40.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, most Seinfeld moment. I had a couple. So I thought the greeting at the airport. So this is before the woman shows up, and George and Jerry are just having this like again classic rapid pace conversation, and they're
Yes.
literally going over like we're gonna judge how like we're gonna base this all on how she greets you and how she
hmm
does this, and they're going over every single option, and they use the phrase hand sandwich because they basically like touch each other's hands like this to make a hand sandwich, and
Yes.
then she comes in, and what does she do?
Peekaboo from
Peekaboo,
behind.
but yeah, and we just watched Jerry look at George like, what is this? What is
Yeah, yeah,
happening?
yeah.
And that to me just felt, again, this is a pilot, early
hmm
stages. That
hmm
just that whole sequence and scene felt very
Mm.
Seinfeld.
Yeah,
Would you agree? Do you
I
agree?
do like when Jerry like looks to George to be like, "Yay!" and he looks over like, "Oh, explain to me what
Yeah,
this is," and he's
yeah,
like, "I can't." Like,
yeah,
so yeah, having those secret moments, I think, and like, yeah, it's like a conversation that only the two of them could possibly have, but then it
yeah.
continues even though the plot continues.
hmm
hmm
And then the other one I wrote down was there's like a very small moment where I think it reminds me of a later episode. So basically, George and Kramer end up side by side almost by accident because Jerry goes to the bathroom, and you could tell the conversation's a little awkward because Kramer's like, "So
Yes.
how's the real estate business?"
Yes.
And I think Kramer looks at him. He's just like, "I'm thinking about getting into commercial real estate, so you keep me posted." And just the absurdity, the ridiculousness, like very early, like you can see like Kramer's definitely very different in this episode than what he becomes, but
Yeah,
in that little conversation, you start to see a little glimmer of like, man, Kramer's got some comedic chops, and we're gonna see some magic later on.
totally. Yeah, I feel like it's peppered in throughout and like you don't catch it until you've gone through and watched a few times. But yeah, just certain movements, certain reactions to things that Kramer does. I'm like, he's in there, he's in there, he's begging to come out in
Mhm.
this first episode. They just haven't released him yet.
I love that. Okay, next category is we sort of touched on it, but rate the stand-up slash cold open. So we write it that way because in the beginning, the first few seasons, we're going to get a lot of Jerry's stand-up, and then I think at a certain point, maybe season 4 or 5, they switch to the cold open, which are always great because they are genuine cold opens and usually have some great
Mm-hmm.
comedy in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jerry's comedy is really freaking bad.
It's really bad. It's
Yeah.
really kind of juvenile and simple. I know like they're
Mhm.
using it as bookends to like jump from one scene to the next because they don't quite understand how to do that yet.
Mhm.
Instead of like what they end up doing, a lot of them is just jumping, right? Which I
Yeah.
kind of like.
That was what I was shocked by because like I know in later seasons like sometimes the stand up is sort of thematically related to the episode that we're
Yes.
watching.
Yeah.
But this one was literally it was kind of jarring
Laundry.
because yeah, George says like well George says okay, let's go you're going to go do your stand up and he's wearing like a shirt and then the next scene is him at the stand up and it's literally linked into the episode and I was like
Yeah.
it was a little bit surprising and I didn't
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
it because it's like it's usually it's a separate beast where it's like we get Jerry doing stand up and then the episode, and it just keeps popping up in this weird kind of way.
It was weird how because it's almost, it's not like removing the fourth wall, but it's kind of like those characters don't talk about his stand-up, but then we see the stand-up and we see how it's tied to tangentially to the story. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, for them to actually call it out, it was like, oh, I
yeah,
didn't like that. That's unsettling.
yeah, yeah. And like you said, like the socks, the cotton balls, the washing machine, like just so
Yeah,
bland, and like I'm curious as we go through this, like how good it will get because I've never been like his stand-up's just meh. So I'm curious on like looking at each episode's stand-up routine that he does, like the little short intro, which
right.
ones will hold up and which ones will kind of land like a lead balloon.
His his stand-up is meh for you in general or just in the show?
I th I'll be honest, I don't know if I've ever seen a stand-up special from Jerry.
Seriously.
Yeah, have
How's
you
that
seen
possible?
them?
Of
I just
course, I've seen them
don't.
all.
I've never really.
I love stand-up. Yeah, I watch all the stand-up.
I I love stand-up, but I've never. That's
How's
interesting.
that
I
possible
never.
though? But if you love Seinfeld, if you love the
I
two, why
think
wouldn't you put the two together?
I feel like I watched one later one, and it
Yeah.
was just fine. I
They're
don't
not.
know.
So it's interesting. I'd be interested for you to watch one and then we continue this
That
exercise.
that's a bonus episode. That's a
There
bonus
we go.
episode. There
There
we
we go. I mean,
go.
I don't know how exciting it is to talk about stand
Stand
up,
up.
but
Yeah. Just as like
um,
a little side, like a little, we could do it as a little side tangent
for
in
sure, a
an
little
episode.
epilogue.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
Yeah. Like
but
so.
yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be curious to see how you think it, because like it's not, obviously it's not lame, like he's made his career on it.
Hmm.
But it is what's the word? What's the term you used a minute ago? Milk toast. It is a bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Milk toast, like
know.
bland, like kind of like it's like dipping white bread in water is like a classic Simpsons joke. Where like Ned Flanders, he's going in a bit of a rut, and all he does is dip white bread into water, like glass of water
Mhm.
on the side for dipping. That's what I think of with Jerry's stand-up. It's not great. It's not
It's
great.
not great. It's a little lame. Yeah, no, we can definitely talk about his stand up another time because yeah, I would want to gather
Absolutely.
my thoughts on that one. So yes, let's do that.
Perfect. Okay, let's talk about the big four. I guess big three, sort of.
Big three. I'm
Um,
so upset she's
this
not in this.
I know, yeah. So she's not on the pilot. I think historically she's only in. She misses out on two more episodes after this, so she's almost in every single one.
Hmm.
Um, we've talked about George a lot.
Hmm.
I think it's funny because I wrote down the word wingman, but it's almost like he's the opposite. Like he's just like trying to
Well,
take his wings away. But I think like
or he's looking out
he's.
for his best interest.
I think that's what it is, and I
You could
think
argue other. Yeah.
yeah. Like if we want to get super deep again, it's like I think he's like they're obviously best friends. They've known each other since high school, and
Mm.
I think he's like genuinely worried about him and that he doesn't want Jerry to look like a fool. Like he's like has his sort of best interest at heart when he's like, "Hey, so this girl might be coming in and she said she
Hmm.
might stop by." And George is like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Beep, beep, beep. Back it up." And like wants to like make sure he's not going to get not ghosted. He doesn't want him to get
Ghosted.
ghosted.
Or
Yeah.
taken advantage of too.
Exactly. Because,
Yeah.
like, we'll get to her because we'll briefly talk about
Okay.
this character because there aren't that many side characters. But overall, I thought George was lights out. I really thought that for a pilot first episode, I thought he came out swinging. And I think it's tough because Seinfeld is a show about nothing. We don't really know any background on these characters. It's very like the exposition is very like low, so we're
Hmm.
only getting things through the dialogue. And I feel like he used what he had in front of him really pretty well.
Yep, I would agree with that. Yeah, he definitely, with the limited thing and for a pilot, the stress of that, like I do think he makes the most of it for
Hmm.
the scenes he's given. Absolutely.
Jerry. So I wrote this down because
Hmm.
every time you look at like reviews for Seinfeld, or it even comes up later on, I think as a one-off joke, everyone says Jerry's a bad actor. Do you
Yeah,
see it?
of course. Do you not?
So this is what I wrote. I think I'm immune to it. Like I think like I think I've watched so much Seinfeld that I just like I was just like that's just how human beings and actors just do that. Like there are times where things feel silly and maybe out of touch, but I'm just like I can't imagine it any other way. Like I just love like can you give me an example from this episode possibly? Like I'm just trying to wrap my head around his bad acting and why everyone hates it so much.
Well, it's hard because like it's not necessarily like it's because to say that he's acting poorly because he's playing himself is reflective of his character, and that's not what I want it to be. But
Hmm.
if he had to play any other character on that show, could he do it? Probably not. Of
Hmm.
course, there is that one episode where he does like a Kramer impression, and he does it very well.
Oh,
But, and
oh,
I'm not going to jump too far ahead here
yeah.
on us, but he does that very, very well, and that's like on the eighth, ninth season. Um,
Hmm.
he has some experience, but also it's undertones of Jerry. Like he can never really turn off the Jerry. Another example of like the same thing where she says like Elaine's like, "Oh, you're always funny. You can't turn off the funny." And I think that's what he can't
Mm.
turn off the Jerry. That's why what makes him a
Hmm.
bad actor, I think.
I guess you know what? I see that. And like something I noticed in this episode that'll probably come up a lot is like he's the funny guy, but he also sort of plays the straight man of the group. Like he's almost the most put
Mm,
together, the most successful. And I feel like
yes.
a lot of the comedy that we laugh at is like George or Kramer or Elaine are doing something ridiculous, and then we get to see Jerry sort of mock or make fun of them for what they're doing. So it's like he's not the one making the jokes. We're laughing along with him reacting to the craziness that happens.
The first few seasons, yes, I would agree with that.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's like he just, I don't think, like, I can't picture, like, I can really remember a lot of amazing George moments, a lot of Kramer moments, Elaine
Hmm.
moments, those big comedic moments. But, like, to think of a really good Jerry scene where he's really funny, it's harder to sort of pinpoint those moments.
Yeah, because it's
Maybe?
everybody is coming in laying pipe for him, and then to come in
Hmm.
and break it with a big joke. At least in the first few, but then I think they kind of trade off a bit more, and we see because it's funny when we actually see Jerry more vulnerable, more angry, more upset, more. So I think they play with that as it goes on. But yes, at the beginning, it's him kind of like as the hierarchy of everyone come to me
Hmm.
with your problems and I will make fun
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah. That's a great way to describe the first few seasons.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Okay. Kramer.
Kramer.
Kramer. What do you think?
You said he was annoying.
Annoying in the sense of like, to Jerry, not like not to me. Like
Oh, okay.
sort of in that, yeah, no, like I definitely didn't find him annoying. Like I think like his annoyingness was more casual. Like he really comes in, doesn't say a lot, and sort of just does a lot of physical comedy where he just kind of like holds out the two pieces of bread
I love
and
that.
sort of just like dawdles around the apartment, opens the fridge,
Yeah,
stands
yeah.
there almost like a statue eating this like meat-filled sandwich in front of
But
Jerry.
he's kind of like lurching. He's kind of like
He's
lurching,
there.
hunching over. He's stumbling like he's drunk, like he's not stable on his feet when he's doing it. And I'm like, Kramer, like as we know him, is quite agile, I think.
Mhm.
So he hadn't quite found his sea legs there, I don't think. But I do love the bread. He takes the one piece of bread in each house coat pocket.
I
Please,
didn't catch
sir, can
that.
I
I'm
have
so
some
glad you
more?
catch that. Incredible. Incredible. I did not catch that. That is so good. And it's also like the classic Kramer that we know and love. Like, I think he says to George or Jerry he wants to be a lawyer. Like he's looking that he wants to become a lawyer. He has like hermit-like tendencies that we know. He doesn't look like he leaves the apartment, and I think they make a
Hmm.
joke about it. So we're
Hmm.
sort of
Hmm.
seeing that early Kramer lore being built.
Yes.
Um, he also has a dog.
I wish
Like
the dog had stayed.
George, I was shocked at how game that George was with that dog. Like I thought George was gonna have a panic attack, and he's just like, "Whoa, this dog's playful," and he was having a blast with him.
That's not how I interpreted that. I thought he was
I
very
thought
much
he,
like the dog's on me, like get your dog off
no,
me.
I thought he was having fun. I feel like
Okay,
we have
okay.
very different George
We interpret
interpretations right now. Oh my Lord.
this will be interesting.
This is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so yeah, the housecoat pocket, the bread. Yeah, he just seems off, but like there's a little bit of Kramer in there. Like
He's
he's
coming out.
definitely yeah.
Yeah, he's coming out slowly. But I don't think that like the way that his interactions with Jerry, like if that's really how he acts, like why does Jerry let him in the apartment? Jerry's like being too nice. Like he's not actually like that in any other episode.
Yeah, it's like why does this strange man come into your place asking for meat? This isn't a very Jerry thing, and it's like
For me.
as Kramer sort of develops as a character, you sort of see his appeal. He's a fun guy to be around. He goes out and does things. He has all these friends that he speaks about, and like as the Kramer story builds, we can kind of see why Jerry spends his time with this guy because he's kind of endearing to a sense.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Like he's a bit creepy in this one, right? Like he doesn't leave
Hmm.
the apartment. He's a bit rude. He rips up his magazine, right? Like the actual Kramer that we know is not, does not have those character traits, which I'm
Yeah,
glad that they decided to leave in the first episode.
yeah. He builds more of a more positive personality traits compared to the
Exactly.
first episode. Yeah. So last one is Elaine. Elaine obviously isn't in this episode.
Missing in action.
Um, missing in action. So basically, the story is that for the pilot, Claire, the waitress, was meant to be the main character, was thought to be a cast regular. And then when they picked up the show, they're like, no, we don't like this because basically she'd be stuck and inert in the diner, and they'd always have
Hmm.
to come to her. So they switched it to Elaine, and she became the series regular for episode two. I wrote down as our next category, most valuable side character, which is going to be a very juicy topic as we go
As we
forward.
continue, yes.
My answer was Claire the waitress. I thought she was pretty great,
Yeah. Witty, can hold their
witty,
own with the two guys.
absolutely like pulls no punches.
Hmm.
As she seems like a fellow person who does not take George seriously, like yourself. So I felt like you and her had a lot in common.
Yes,
Um,
very much
yeah,
so.
I thought she was delightful. It was just like she just ribbing George and making him feel like a
Yeah.
fool.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
And
easy to do.
then exactly. Poor George. Poor George. And then we got Laura. Like I'm highlighting Laura because we had only two side characters in this episode. Just kind of
Yeah.
meh. Kind of an odd person, an odd
Weird.
move.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know how like into relationships we want to get of like the psychology of people here, but I'm like, what was her game plan here? Like, did she know what she was doing? Was she just looking for room and board?
I think she was looking for room and board and
Okay.
used the sort of subtlety about it. Like this is why like George's view on the situation was 100% correct, like
Hmm.
shockingly. So
Hmm.
that was what I was surprised by. And yeah, it was just a bold, weird move that she's just like going to the city, wants to be a tourist, and is like, "Oh yeah, I'm also engaged." And then that's
Yeah.
the butt of the episode is
Yeah.
basically George was right and Jerry is left with it. He brought a bed in.
Yeah.
That was odd.
What's wrong with the couch, man?
Yeah, like people can sleep on a couch. That seems
Hmm.
very odd when it's, yeah. But anyway, she was fine. I thought Claire was great. I'd have her down as my most valuable side character.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, I'll save the next one for last. Is there
Okay.
always food? I'm trying to come up with like a better name for this category, but
Gotcha.
traditionally in Seinfeld, food does play a pretty
They do eat
prominent
a lot.
role.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. There's a lot of brands, a lot of eating. Food sometimes plays into the plot of the episode, so I thought that'd be a cool thing to keep an eye on. Um,
Absolutely. It's
so
just
we
the meat
had,
and bread and the cereal.
and
I
he's
do
eating a
like you
bowl of
couldn't.
cereal.
I noticed the set, the kitchen is quite different. Like his apartment is quite warmer tones, and like you
Hmm
can't see into the kitchen cupboard, so you can't see all
hmm
of his cereals. But so I didn't like that. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
normally,
yeah, very jarring for a pilot again. Like
yeah.
you're
He had a
everything.
skylight too. Did you see that or like the
I
thing?
missed that. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, something different. Like it's got to be a different, completely different set that they used when they started filming the actual show.
Yeah, I don't know, but like so when the apartment that we know it as, like it's much more masculine in feeling because it's like
Hmm
a lot more blue gray tones, and
Yeah,
this one has all
yeah,
like these wooden tones, and I was like, hmm.
yeah. It's
There's
like
like
they were trying.
wicker chairs. I was like, who picked those out? Jerry wouldn't have picked those
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Definitely like, and I'm excited to watch episode two because I'm just going one at a time, and I'm excited to see that sort of shift from like watching this first episode to what it looks like in the second episode.
Yeah.
Last, I think this will be our last category. What's the moral of the story? Which is interesting. Like, I think we have to come up with our own morals because you are
Hmm.
right. I like that you wrote down no hugs, no lessons because
What
that
Seinfeld
sums up the
is.
show. Yeah.
But that's what they say. That's what Jerry and Elaine say when they
No
talk about
hugs,
the
no
show.
lessons.
Yeah, yeah, they that's what they all
Oh.
say like when for the show because like those characters are not developing. They
Hmm.
are not learning from their errors, their error ways. So that's what they say. Like we're not here to teach anybody at the end of the week. You know,
Yeah.
love your
Yeah.
neighbor. It's
Yeah.
no hugs and no lessons because it's not
I
an
love
emotional
that.
show.
It is definitely not an emotional show. And the like I basically came up with two morals of the story, just like because obviously like it's story, we can find theme. I'm an English teacher trying to find some lesson to take away from an
Of
episode of
course.
Seinfeld.
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes the first instinct is correct. George was right. He kind of had this
Mm,
engaged woman pegged the whole time. And
hmm.
then I wrote down sex dictates our social lives and a lot of reasons for our conversation. Seems
Yeah,
like, especially in this show, like Jerry and George hook up with a lot of women. Elaine hooks up with some guys.
yeah,
Kramer
yeah.
hooks up with some women. Seems
You're right.
like, especially in a show like this whole episode revolves around will Jerry get laid? Like George basically spends 15 minutes looking Jerry in the eye, being like, "You are not getting laid," and Jerry's like,
Yeah,
"Come on, I got a shot."
yeah.
And yeah, I think that's going to come up in a lot of different episodes. Like I
Was there
can
any
think of at least
closure for George to be at the end to be like, I told you so? I can't remember.
no, I don't think so.
Because
No,
it just
like
kind
it's
of
sort
ends,
of
right?
it just kind
It's
of
you're
ends.
engaged and then it's more
Yeah.
stand up.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's how we wrap up. And it's like, again, we don't get to see George celebrate that, which is an interesting choice, but like, I think we don't need to see it. Like, I think that would
But
make
I
this
wonder
the
if he would have,
character
because that would really hold strong my he's a dick argument.
absolutely. And I think if we saw George sort of like, because we've seen him in the diner with that like cigar in his hand, celebrating a success, and it's weird to see him like that, where he's actually like, I done something well, so all of you look at me and all the great that I just did. And I'm
Yes.
glad we didn't get that for this episode because like
Hmm. Hmm.
he's in like three or four scenes. I'm like, that's all we need. We don't need to see him celebrate that he was right.
Yeah, no, because there are other episodes where he does get really cocky, and I definitely like subconsciously like say those lines to myself if I am feeling cocky in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Any final thoughts on the first episode of Seinfeld? I'm pro, but excited to go forward. Where are you at?
Glad it's over.
Wow. Tough, tough takes. I love it. Uh, thank you so much for listening, everybody. This has been
Thank you.
our inaugural episode for the very first episode of Seinfeld, and hopefully one of many. Thank you so much for listening.